What's happening, Hardscapers? Today we're building some steps. Let's get into this. In our previous videos on this project, we did a step install, a seat wall install, the porcelain install. Now we're working on the steps going up the side of this house here. So what you see me doing here, we've already done and talked about on a previous video, which we'll link in the description below. But basically we're just getting this base course of this wall, step, and seat wall started here for our client. And then we can start building up our steps from this initial step. So we've got our downspout connected into this drain here, and then we've got our steps going all the way up. Now we put about 6 inches on either side of the step, so we've got 4-foot steps, and this is 5 feet, and we are going to do a small little drain along this side. These steps are going to curve upwards, so that step is actually going to be on the edge of that drain, and then it's going to curve up to that corner, and we've got that downspout up there. We are going to tie it into the drain behind this wall. When we're digging our walls, we're making sure that we have 6 inches in front, and then from the front of the wall to the back needs to be 24 inches. So typically the rule of thumb is 12 inches behind the block, but if your block is 10 inches, you need 14 inches, so you just need to be aware of that. We've got another wall going in there, and we've got another small wall going in there, and of course one wall here. And now we are going to extend our fabric all the way up and up the sides, and then fabric in here for all these walls, and we'll have drains in behind the walls. They will be perforated drains, and they'll just tie into our drain going along here, and then that drain is going to go and all the way out, and this drain also goes all the way out. There's a catch basin over there, and then pop up beyond that. And that is our drainage for our open grade base project. Neighbor has downspouts and a sump pump line. So if we were to do this in dense graded base with that sand 3/4 inch down to fines, that water introduced into our system or around our system would not be good in the long term. So this is another benefit to open graded stone, or 3/4 inch clear. So I do like to do 3 inches of this mini crater, then 6 inches, then the 2-inch cap. That gives us 5 inches buried, and typically you don't necessarily need steps buried, but I just like it just for extra purposes, I guess. Go above and beyond. Let's pause a moment here just to explain what I'm talking about. With this wall block, we have 2 different sizes. We're mixing them together. We have a 3-inch and a 6-inch, and you can combine 2 of the 3-inch to make a 6-inch. And then we have a 2-inch natural stone cap that's going to go on top to cap these steps. So when I say we go 3, 6, and then 2, we start with a 3-inch wall block, we put a 6-inch on top, and then we add a 2-inch cap. Now that would give us an 11-inch step, but 5 inches of that is going to be below grade. It won't show. So that's what I'm talking about when I say 3, 6, and then 2. At the top, we are going to come below that sill, and the walkway is going to slope towards the driveway there. So that's our top height. And in doing this, we are using our U level to be able to measure, okay, where are we going to be with this next step? Each step is 6-inch rise. So 6 inches. Where's our elevation going to be? 6 inches. Where's our elevation going to be? That wall is actually going to extend into here to this step, I believe, or the next step, just so we don't have our steps being washed out with all of this dirt and soil on our neighbor side here. So we need to retain that. There is going to be a step up with our wall, so that wall will step up maybe 6 inches, but eventually our steps will reach a point where we are at here, or below this. We know that we have, I believe it's 28 feet from step to here, and with that we need to measure each step is 16 inches. The elevation is 7 foot 6 inches. That makes 15 steps total. But with 16 inches at 15 steps, we need to make up 8 more feet in length. So we do have this area, which will actually be a small landing. It will actually be step, 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 2 or 4 foot landing, and then step, step, 2 foot landing, step, step, 2 foot landing. And that's how we're going to make up our additional 8 feet. And that's just how we go about calculating this and using our U level to get elevations to make sure we are deep enough. We went way deeper here. That's why there's, even though it's going to be a 4 foot landing to this point, We went much deeper than we needed here. Better to go deeper than not deep enough. And then we have our walkway at the top here, which will be 8 inches all the way down to that. Let's talk about drainage on this project. So here's our slope down. We're gonna have 15 steps up. Now, what that means is we've got one downspout up there that we don't have enough fall to put it down, out, and into the front, into a pop-up emitter. There's a downspout right on that corner that we will, and that'll be the only one, because already we got a lot of water from here and a lot of water from here. Now it is just half the roof coming to do 2 downspouts, but it's the same half. So same amount of water, just 2 different downspouts. So what we've done is we're going to have this SDR35 perforated pipe in behind each of our walls here. And then we tied that one into this wall, which you can see here. And we'll fill that up. We just have a spacer there to be able to get it to the right height. And then we've come to this one and done a 90, and then this is perforated down to a corrugated pipe, which is perforated as well. And the reason why we've got corrugated there as opposed to SDR35 is just because that's more of a French drain in there. There's going to be no compaction on top of it because our steps are going to curve. They're going to curve up, and then once we get to this SDR35, that's where we're getting in line with that wall there, and we'll be parallel with that wall, so we're getting close to that pipe. So that's why I wanted SDR35 there. Here it's totally fine to have that corrugated because that's just going to be like a French drain. But also on the sides, so these are 4-foot steps with 6 inches on either side. That's 5 feet, and then I dug even further, about 4 inches on either side more. So it's actually quite a lot more excavation, so that we could have trenches going down here and down here, just to accept a little bit of water and to flow exactly where we wanted to. Not to mention each of our landings is also sloped. This is more so just to add a little bit more extra drainage there. This one is going to go, that one actually goes under and out. And then this one, because we are rising up with our steps 6 inches and then 6 inches, there's going to be 12 inches at this point. That will, and then our wall block will actually fall here with a little bit more gravel on top. So we space that out appropriately to go 15 inches and then 15 inches. 1 inch overhang, 16-inch caps. So 15 inches for our next block and then 15 inches for our next block there. And that way we're not building on top of our drainage system, and it's completely separate. And that is how we're going to control the water flow here. Okay, when we're building these, I just know that based on my patio, all the way to the top of that sill up there, or the bottom of it, was where we're going to aim for. I know that that is 7.5 feet. So if I measure the 16-inch depth of each of these treads, I know that I'm going to fall 8 feet short. So we need 4-foot landing, 2-foot landing, 2-foot landing to make up that. So as we build up the steps, I can visualize where those landings are going to be based on the grade here and based on the grade here. We're trying to balance these two things, and luckily the neighbor is allowing us to regrade his area to make it look nice and to kind of match up with what we're doing here. So we're 4-foot landing. This gives us this step, and it worked out perfectly where we can tie our step into our actual wall here. So in doing so, we still want to make sure that we have a 6-inch base there. We have an outlet pipe for our French drain, so we're just bridging over that. And so we have 6 inches of base, and then we're leveling our block to our step. So you can see that we got it perfect. And what we're doing is this 3-inch buried course is lining up with that bottom course of the wall. And we're building it up, and then we put a 2-foot or 2-inch cap on top of this, and we're perfect with where we're at with this garden bed. Now these garden beds are going to slope downwards. We're going to regrade those as well, just because the landing is going to be 2 feet. This is going to be rock face. We're going to chisel this as well as this and that one over there, each step. But our wall step is going to stop here and go up. So it's going to be a little bit lower, especially when we have a 2-foot piece here, than this corner. So we'll regrade that properly. So now when I'm installing the wall block, if I install the 3-inch layer and then plus the 6-inch layer, that's 9 inches, the top of that 6-inch layer is actually going to be level with the next 3-inch piece for the next step. So how does that math work? So if we have our initial step built and we're building our next step after that, and that applies to all of our steps going up this hill, if we level our 3-inch wall block to that last step's wall block before the cap, that's 3 inches, and we need 5 inches buried. So when we add that 2-inch cap to that first step, now we have our 5 inches, because when we put our 6-inch wall block on that next step, that's going to be buried by 4 inches, and then we have a 2-inch cap to give us our 6-inch step height. So instead of having to use our rotary laser level, or in this case our U level, to know exactly where that next step is going to be, we just level our 3-inch block for our next step to the top of the previous step's wall block before the cap goes on top. Now, if we wanted to have 7-inch steps, we couldn't tie them together and be much more structurally sound with this step staircase, which I prefer, especially with the walls going up the sides as well. So that's why we opt for a 6-inch step, as well as the 16-inch treads allows us to go to that 6-inch mark for the steps. The longer the treads, the better you are going with a 6-inch tread rather than an 8-inch. As we build up the steps, we backfill with our 3/4 clear, we give it a good compaction, and then we start to lay our next wall block on top. Our corners get rock faced with our guillotine, and that gives us a nice clean rock face on those corners. To add some appeal to this, we add lighting throughout our steps. With this, we did 2 separate 3-inch lights on alternating steps. I prefer 2 3-inch as opposed to 1 6-inch on steps, just because personally I think it looks a little bit more appealing. With the walls though, we went 6-inch lights on those going up. You can see that we cut channels into the wall block for the wiring of our lights, and then we wire the lights outside of the step. That way, if we ever have a loose connection, it's going to be accessible and we don't have to lift up those step caps to be able to get at them. Our step caps get placed on top of our wall blocks and they get adhered with a hardscape adhesive. Once our step caps are totally in place, we can prepare our truss bedding. This is how we install porcelain. Once again, we have another video on this. Link is in the description below of how we installed this for our patio. It's essentially a cementitious mixture with HPB or 1/4-inch chip that gets mixed together with water, and it's completely permeable. We back butter our porcelain, put them in there, and they become rock solid. Once that's done, we topsoil all of our edges, grade it the way we want it to, and that's our complete project. Our steps got cut into the actual wall product there. We also did that on a few different occasions to make things look nice, especially right there. Cut the cap into the wall to make that final product look nice. Have some dressing up to do in terms of final grade, but overall I'm happy with how things really turned out here. And this is our project. Hey, I hope this video has helped you in some way. If it has, please give this video a like, comment below any questions you may have, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more hardscaping content like this. Thank you so much for watching.